I need to write me.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to March 19th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. Charlene, could you call the roll?
Richard
please?
Anthony,
Here.
Karen Robinson,
Here.
Dan Kane,
Here.
Rich Leclerc,
Here.
Tom Alberti,
Excused.
thank you, Nolan Pelletier,
Present.
Bill Coy.
Here.
All right. I think we're going to probably just go out of order for a second and we'll do the reorganization. I'd like to, Rich Leclerc won the election. Also Dan Kane won the election. So 2 permanent members of the Planning Board. And I think Selectman Bill Coy is going to swear them in.
So you swear you guys in. You want to make sure your face gets on camera. I'll do Dan first because he is a separate. Sure. My glasses look like me. Hand up. Dan first.
Okay.
I, Daniel J. King,
I, Daniel J. Kane,
do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
that I will bear faith and true allegiance
that I will bear faith and true allegiance
to the United States of America
to the United States of America
and the state of New Hampshire,
and the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Daniel J. King,
I, Daniel J. Kane,
do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
as a planning board member
as a planning board member
for a term of 3 years,
for a term of 3 years,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my abilities.
agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution
Agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I was going to need to
Sign.
yeah, and just top line,
Yeah.
and then your email address, and then the whole way of the code of ethics and all that.
Need a pen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. I, Richard Joseph Leclerc Jr.,
I, Richard Joseph Leclerc Jr.,
do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will bear faith and true allegiance
I will be faithful to the allegiance
to the United States of America
of the United States of America,
and the state of New Hampshire,
the state of New Hampshire,
and will support the Constitution thereof,
will support the Constitution thereof,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Richard Joseph Leclerc Jr.,
I, Richard Joseph Leclerc Jr.,
do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
perform all the duties that come upon me
as a planning board member for a term of 1 year,
as a planning board member for a term of 1 year,
according to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution
of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New
and the
Hampshire.
laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yeah, perfect.
You grab the pen from him.
Get the paperwork. You probably got it.
You.
Dan, pen. Yeah, it's right here.
Before that ends up on my
Yes,
desk.
what's necessary.
Email address.
You're official.
Congratulations. Good job.
All right, that's it. Thank you. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome to the mayhem.
All right. Next on the agenda, congratulations again.
Thank you.
I think we should probably consider, just at least for purposes of reorganization, entertain nominations for chair and vice chair, and I figured, then we'll go from there. I nominate Karen Robinson for vice chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second that. Any discussion on it? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, so it's going to be 500. Welcome.
Thank
Do
you.
you accept this charge?
Yes, I'll accept.
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
Nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Richard Anthony
Thank you.
as chair, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? I'll abstain. All right.
I should have thanked you.
No, it's, what was it, 410? All right. All right, I guess, Brett,
401.
401, all right.
Unless you voted against yourself.
Yeah, deep psychological self-loathing.
Which wouldn't have been surprising.
All right, so I suppose, with that said, I propose that we just talk about the CIP committees, subcommittees and such for the end, so that we can, let's say, we'll do the minutes right now. We have 2 sets of minutes in front of us. You have hopefully had a time to review them. One's from February 19th and one's from March 5th.
The only thing I'd done the February 19th, one of them is my last name was spelled wrong. The third one.
Well, I called him Mrs. too. so-
Yeah, that was gonna be my next one. And then you have the second paragraph, you have Ms. Anthony.
Yes.
I have an announcement.
I was thinking, Bill, the Friends of Eddie Coyle versus Bill Coyle.
See, my family wasn't that rich. We couldn't
Yeah,
afford the
right.
extra letter. And then the only other thing was where we had the votes. We should have down there, or we need to have down there, who made the motion and who the second was.
On which one?
I had that note, and there's a piece of paper we had that had them, so.
So we can, if we know what it is, we can make the adjustments now, or we just do it next meeting. Either way is fine.
I don't have I had the notes from that's fine, we can do it next meeting.
Yeah,
Fair enough. So
Okay.
that's easy enough.
we'll just adjust that
I'll
next
I'll
week.
fix that, I'll
Yeah.
fix that and do that.
That's minor.
All right.
But I did have them on
I thank you for just doing the minutes, because I would be horrible at doing them. I know that,
but
but other than that, the minutes are great.
I took notes and I did take the votes, but I kept it on a separate piece of
Yeah.
paper. I'll fix that.
All right, perfect.
All right,
No
so March
problem.
5th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from March 5th.
I just have one correction on March 5th. It does, on the second page, it says that I was appointed a voting member, and I was appointed, but I did not vote because it was 5. Tom Alberti,
Can't see, hold on. Where is it?
Dan recused himself, and Chairman Anthony appointed Tom Alberti and Nolan Pelletier as voting members. He did, but Tom Alberti was the only voting member because
Okay.
there was already 4 people on the board. So
Okay.
I did not vote on that.
Anything else?
No,
All right.
I didn't have it.
All right, make a motion to accept the minutes with the noted changes from March 5th.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
All right, one
I wasn't here.
abstention. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
All right. All right, so we should probably move on right to we have a conceptual before us. So, all right, PB 23-04, a conceptual discussion with David Abari regarding the development of a commercial property to enhance parking and allow the existing structure to be used as a drive-through restaurant. The property at 111 Plastow Road, tax map 28, lot 16, in the C1 zoning district. The property owner of record is the Plastow Road 111 LLC. This is a conceptual discussion only. All right. Welcome.
What's the restaurant?
Thank you. Good evening.
Could you two please identify yourselves for the record?
What is it?
Want my address too?
Just this
Name and
town that you
address,
live
yeah.
in.
Dave Abear.
What's the restaurant?
Jim Hanley, SEC and Associates here in Plastow.
And I'm the owner of my wife and I are the owners of 111 Plastow Road.
So we're here tonight just for a conceptual review. Before we get too deep into the design, we figured it made sense to come to you, tell you what we're thinking and how we're proposing to move this forward. So I have maybe 3 or 4 minutes here of kind of direction that I can provide you with on what we're proposing. So again, Jim Hanley with SEC and Associates. The project site is located on this map here, 111 Plastow Road. It's tax map 28, lot 16. We're on the northbound side of Route 125, about 450 feet south of Old Road. You can kind of see it there at the very top of that sketch. Directly north of Plastow Motorsports, we actually share a interconnected driveway with them. We're directly south of 113 Plastow Road, which is vacant. The zoning is commercial C1. We're in the Aquifer Protection District, but we don't have any floodplain, any wetland areas, or any shoreland. The site itself is approximately 2 acres. It's 1.96 acres. And we have 285-ish feet of frontage on Route 125. So what is it currently? So you guys are all familiar with this site, I'm sure. It's 18,000 square foot commercial building, basically a strip mall in there. There's 50 parking spaces. Access is through Route 125, and again, at this location here, we share that. It's actually a fire lane. It's a deeded easement. It's a fire lane that we share with Plastow Motorsports. Currently, the site is on well. They proposed to change it over to domestic water now that we have it in Plastow. And we also have a septic system that is currently in use by the building. So what are we proposing? So I think this gives you a decent look. I know that Troy provided the cameraman with a video, so I don't know if he has the ability to put that up, or is it on this, Troy? Or?
Looks very nice.
So I'll continue as we kind of go
There you go.
through this.
He's got it on there now. It's on TV.
So anyhow, extensive exterior improvements to the building. This is all concept at this point, but this is where we stand. So you can see that they're proposing to put a lot of money and energy into this building. The proposed dormers, the clock towers, windows, siding, trim, painting, they're really going to take it up one level here. The proposal as it stands right now is to, of the 18,000 square feet, 5,500 square feet of that will be a restaurant with 100 seats, 100 sit-down seats. The remaining 12,500 square feet will be retail. We're proposing a drive-through. A drive-through is important for the use of the restaurant. We'd like to be able to get a drive-through in there. Currently, there's 50 parking spaces out there. We're proposing an additional 33, so that we have 83 parking spaces. It only results in an additional 3,300 plus or minus square feet of impervious surface. And if you look at this row of 18 spaces here, the idea is that we we'd get these approved, we'd have a drainage system designed to handle the flow, but we'd bank them. So if we don't need them, we won't build them. But, and that would basically be a net zero on the increase in impervious surface at that point. But you can see that out there today, there's no landscaped islands. There's no landscaping really to speak of. We're proposing 4 landscape islands and providing some landscaping along the project frontage. It'll be ADA compliant. We're going to maintain the existing access drive location. We're in the process of designing a new septic system for, there'll be more flow because of the restaurant that we're proposing. And then the next step with this would be, obviously, once we get your comments, would be to move it forward through grading, drainage, and additional utility design. So based on everything that we've seen right now, we require site plan review by you guys. And we would require permits for the new septic system as well as New Hampshire DOT. We're not proposing to change that access point at all, but sometimes with the change of use, they like to see it. We're not proposing any improvements within the Route 125 right away, other than tying into domestic water. We have one waiver that we think we need. We're not sure, and that's part of the reason that we wanted to come tonight. So along Route 125 right now, the existing site essentially paves right up to the right up to the property line. This zone requires a 12-foot landscape buffer. We're increasing it to 7.5-ish feet. The reason we don't have the 12 is because we'd like to provide a 2 lanes on the drive-through. One is just an escape lane. If somebody gets back there and there's 3 cars, this allows them to pass through. So we're going from 0, we fall short of 12, but we go from 0 to 7.5. So we think it's an improvement. We just wanted to bring that to your attention. Finally, we have met with police and fire. We sat down with them maybe 8 weeks ago, give or take. This is the exact plan that they saw. We put together a turning template on it. They didn't have any comments or concerns that we needed to address. So with that, I don't know if you have anything else, Dave, but that's kind of the once over. We're really here tonight to try to kind of get your thoughts and direction, and hopefully you see it as an improvement to an existing site.
Ms. Pelletier, do you have a
In
question?
regards to the drive-through, is this going to be just a pickup window, or is it going to be order? I don't know what the restaurant is. Is it going to be a fast food type window? I know there's been other businesses that have said that their drive-through is specifically linked to an app or pickup.
Yeah, I don't think we want to limit it at this point anyways. This would probably be, we probably have an ordering kiosk and then a pickup window and a payment window, some combination thereof. Ultimately, it matters who rents that space and how they want that system to be set up. But
And that traffic flow would go behind, that's the
correct, yeah.
building.
Yeah, and so, there's a ton of room for queuing back there. And we designed it so that we have safe sidewalks along the back right side. There's a couple of doors back there, and then provided a width that will provide the ability to bypass a car if somebody's stopped back there.
Yeah, it looked like there was room for the fire engine to get back there as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yep.
Do you have a tenant or someone that's looking to come in restaurant-wise, or is this just?
We had somebody that came to us. It was Press Cafe.
Okay.
So we're trying to get everything in line. They have not made any commitment or anything like that. But I know Kim, my wife, my partner, she's been, in contact with the owners. So quite possibly could be that, but, we're not 100%, at this point.
Chicken fillet.
That's okay.
Trying for that.
I said that today. I said Karen may get her Chick-fil-A.
Who knows? But just so everyone knows, this is the plaza where like Rugs, Rolls and More was in, right? And all that, just so anybody else, so they know exactly which one we're
No,
talking.
I know exactly.
And,
what it
and
is.
that does need work.
They were in there, right, Dave? The gun store?
Yeah, the gun store, they're no longer there.
That's good.
We had one tenant that as soon as we took over the property, I asked them to leave.
Wonder which
But
one
as
that
you-
was.
Yeah. As you can see, just by looking at it, okay, I have cleaned up a lot of that
Yeah.
plaza right now. There was a lot of, over the years, I just couldn't believe all the stuff that was out back. And, around the building. So we've gotten that all cleaned up. I think, once we get moving with this thing, it's really going to make things look a lot better, in that area because,
Looks awesome.
we want to build it and make it look nice.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the picture you have of what it would look like.
Right.
I mean, talk about night and day.
It is. It's a big change.
Yeah, people will go by and they'll
Yeah.
they'll do a head turn,
Yeah. Yeah, what happened? But I mean, that's
That's really nice.
it is.
So this, I mean,
Very nice.
this is a, what do you want to call it? A faithful rendering of what it's going to look like?
Yes.
Okay.
It is, but just keep in mind, it is concept still,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So when we come back with a formal application, whatever details are changed, we'll have it shown.
No, I was just saying that the software rendering is.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
No,
it's
they do a
it's
great
pretty, it's
job.
pretty sharp.
Yeah.
you know?
It is, really.
No, that'd be very
Oh, the
nice.
clock. on the top of the tower.
So I have a question, probably a couple. Where is the septic likely to go? Where are you thinking?
Yeah, so, in a situation like this where we're replacing a septic, it's going to be in the same location generally of where it's in now. So on this sheet, you can see there's 6 galleys connected by a series of pipes and a couple of different
Yeah.
structures.
Yeah.
All of that would come out and we'd be pipe and stone system or maybe the concrete chambers or something like that. But, this was put in before the regulations are what they are today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it
But it
just-
has
Long
functioned
time.
fine, like, we haven't had any issue.
Long time.
It's just tight and the restaurant's going to increase the
Yeah,
utilization.
yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that drives it. There's just no other place for it. And,
Right.
Like, we would try to keep it out of the parking lot if possible, because it shuts things down if it has to be, replaced or maintained, but there's no other location.
Can I ask a question about landscaping?
Sure.
Just a thought. When I look at the landscaping in this town,
Mhm.
I think people forget that evergreens are landscape, and there's far too many, and this is just my simple opinion, far too many deciduous trees.
Yeah.
So that, a little spreading of an evergreen here or there, because it actually does act as a buffer.
Mhm.
Yep.
Deciduous trees don't.
Mhm.
And I think, this is going to be a very, very nice project. I think very good for the town. I think,
Well, I think if you look at it, I'm open, we're open. Obviously, we want to make it look nice. And a lot of times what happens is you go and the planning board or somebody in the town says, this is what we want, okay? If you're open and we want to figure out what we can put there, I'm open for that.
no, I'm
Yeah.
completely open. Believe me,
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you, what version of a tree to plant. I'm just thinking is if you
It's a
can keep
suggestion.
if you can keep an open mind
Mhm.
as
Oh,
to how this
absolutely.
buffer, particularly when we're going to waive a piece here or likely to waive a piece here,
Mhm.
it would be nice to do something where you really do have a buffer.
Oh, absolutely. Willing to work 100% with everybody.
For instance, is there proposed landscaping or something in these medians or whatever in the
Yeah.
parking lot? Is that
Yeah.
something that's, what do you have in mind there? Is it just,
I mean, so this is the, like, on a concept level, we're engineers, we're not landscape
Okay.
people, you know what I mean? But we do have, I think there's 13 evergreen shrubs, lumen seed, 8 deciduous shrubs.
yeah, I mean,
So-
it just, I mean, just, I guess I'm going to amplify what Mr. Kane's saying is that, you know, I mean, right now, anything, anything that's done improvement wise is on the plus side of things. So,
They'll
I mean,
grow.
it's, I mean,
They'll grow.
it looks conceptually
Yeah.
nice. I mean, it's, you know, it's going to make it look fresher. So,
And two is, remember, you got to drive through here, so you not only have the lights shining right onto 125, you have the swing when you swing around. So stuff like that, I would
Actually help.
recommend, probably take a look at from that standpoint. And again, I'm not telling you how to decorate your property, but I think stuff like that has an impact on that, on 125.
Yeah, the only part on that, you're on 125, right, is right before you would turn in as you travel northbound. Just want to make sure you keep your sight line
Yeah,
to pull out,
yeah.
whatever that is. That's obviously.
Well, and
consideration, yeah.
New Hampshire DOT is gonna,
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
is gonna drive that bus.
Yeah. I know.
right, driveway considerations,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
also
yeah.
line of sight.
We don't have any say in that.
But no, personally, I think this is I'm very encouraged. This would be a good use and good for Plastow.
Awesome.
no, it's good. I was wondering what was happening there.
Me too.
Now we
me too.
know, and it's massive improvement.
It's amazing.
The only question I have you given thought to snow removal?
Yeah, I mean, we've reserved some space here down along the bottom.
Okay.
We haven't put numbers to it yet, but we wanted to show something. We'll have a better plan.
Yeah, because obviously that's just one thing to consider.
All that snow that we don't get anymore.
Being in New England, you have to think about it.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no, I know,
think
I know.
that's a-
I'm just kidding. I just meant
Yeah, I know.
all the snow we have the last 3 years.
Do you have a timeline or something, or at least, a rough idea?
We're ready to move once everything gets approved.
Okay.
So once we get the concept and we figure out exactly what route we want to move, we're ready to move forward with it. So things will happen very quickly.
And, I think we'll be back in front of you very shortly. Like maybe within 30 days, we could file formally, like, might be a little aggressive, but we'll look at
Get that chicken
the
from way up
schedule
here.
and, we're in a good position to be able to do it.
I just have a lot of, I have two tenants in there right now, and I'm being asked all the time, what's going on? And I said, we got to get the septic, we got to get all this stuff figured out before we can even move forward with anything. And, I said, once things start happening, it's going to move very quickly. I mean, just putting the trusses up on the roof and, moving things around, it's really going to look a lot different.
And I would think for the retail space, you're gonna have customers, business owners are gonna wanna be in there, right?
Right.
I mean, you look at that plaza now, you'd think, 2-3 times before you'd pull in there.
People,
Right?
people in
I
there
mean, you'd
now.
look at something like this, you go, I wanna pull in there, I'd like to shop in there.
The existing parking lot, apart from, are you going to repave it, resurface it, or do?
Oh,
anything?
absolutely.
Okay.
Everything, if you look at,
Yeah.
you want to bring that, the concept back up?
The architect?
Yeah, the architect concept. Yes, everything that you see there would be fresh pavement, that's the only way this place is
It's going to have a
gonna,
new plaza.
it's gonna pop.
All right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Anyone have anything else? I think it's,
I think
at least my
very
reception to this
encouraging.
is very, very encouraging,
Very
positive, and if it looks like approximates this, I think it's a definite advantage or enhancement to the town,
Good.
or at least 125.
Good.
So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
all right.
Good
Appreciate
luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for
Thank you.
coming. Very good.
Forward to
Cool
seeing you
beans.
back.
I'm gonna call him right away. I'm gonna get him in there. Perfect.
See you later. Good luck.
What's that? Gotta get that chicken fillet guy up here.
All right. I think that was very encouraging.
Yes.
That'd be
Good
a nice
start.
use for that place.
Yeah, good start.
Yeah.
Maybe you can send an email to Chick-fil-A and have
I
them
already
call.
have a phone number tonight. I'm going to call it.
You have on speed dial?
I don't know, but it's gonna have to be pretty quick. I'm not kidding. I have that in my mind. I'm gonna do it.
The first I've
What
heard
is,
of it.
what is
The first
press,
I've heard of it.
what is Press Cafe anyways? What is that? I've never,
Like it's like a Dunkin's higher end.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a nice store.
It is.
It's like a nice coffee
Yeah,
shop. and
yeah.
stuff.
They just put one in on the Lawrence line on 114 Press Cafe.
It's like high
it
end.
like the early bird cafe though, like
Oh, no, no,
breakfast,
no.
lunch?
No,
It's
no,
not
no,
like
it's
that.
No, no, no.
No, okay.
So along the lines of a Panera.
I don't think, yeah, I don't
Upscale,
think
too.
a 100-seat restaurant would do it. That's probably twice what they would want.
Right.
They probably
Okay.
want half that.
That's-
Who knows?
That's
That's why
that's
you
what I
need-
thought. I said, that's a lot of seats.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
that is, 100 seats is
Well,
a
it's
lot.
just like anything else. Go for this, then you get
Then you
this,
bring
and you're
it.
happy.
Well, the one they have in Burlington actually does sandwiches and stuff too.
Yeah, you could just be, that's why I said, just
It might-
that morning, you know, and then donuts
All
all
right.
day. Still think chicken fillet will work better.
So we'll just switch back up to, I guess we'll talk about the exciting stuff, right? CIP committee assignments,
Oh,
2 members and alternate. We do have 2 subcommittee, we have a CIP, for
I'm
Richard's
gonna miss Tim. so much.
benefit. We do have a CIP committee that, pretty much will, that the planning board contribute, well, we sponsor it in conjunction with the budget committee. And any of the items that, with it, we can, like large items like, the emergency vehicles, things
Yeah,
like
it's-
that.
It's the capital improvement
Yeah.
program. So it's like you figure how much, okay, say the fire engine has to be replaced in 20 years.
They just got one, didn't
Yeah, so the next one, it's like a 30-year life on
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So it's like just for instance, and so you say, okay, put away so much. So
Plan ahead.
30 years.
Plan
boom,
ahead.
there it is.
they? Plan ahead instead of getting whacked.
Exactly.
And that's really what that program does, like highway vehicles are on there, police, or anything else we think in town.
All right, so and they usually will meet, my understanding, they'll meet closer when it's, when the budget's being formulated and things like that.
Usually like early fall is when it
Yeah.
starts.
So,
There's usually only 3 or 4 meetings.
yeah, so,
That was it.
So
That's when I did it.
it was Laurie and you, right?
Yeah.
Was,
Well, I
Yes.
did it, and then it was Tim first, then it was me, and then it was Laurie
Yeah.
with Tim.
exactly.
Yep.
So I guess 2 members and 1 alternate is what we can have, go. And again, it's probably it starts in the fall and, sort of culminates
3
into,
meetings.
the budget season,
Fall, does it
formulation of
meet?
the warrants. I believe it was like, did they meet at 5:30 or 6 o'clock?
Somewhere right around there.
Yeah,
I think
probably about
that
an hour.
sounds about right.
Yeah, because they had pizza.
Yeah, that was,
That was Tim's.
Yeah. But I think it might even have started late summer. I'm trying to remember. But I think they met maybe 4
Well, the
times
first
this
one
year,
isn't, I
something
don't
like
think,
that.
till the fall.
Before.
3 or 4, somewhere in there.
I mean, Tim was doing a lot of the preparatory work. I mean, we'll probably have to reach out to him and just see that, because there was a spreadsheet that he curated.
Yeah.
Right.
He
He started it.
that he curated and just sort of updated and maintained. And that was sort of at the center of the CIP process. So we'll need 2 members and an alternate. Do we have any volunteers to be on that?
Yeah,
Feel like you would like to, okay.
sure.
So Rich Leclerc, CIP. Nolan, would you like to be on that? Kind of gives you a nice behind the scenes look at, what's going on, at least from the warrant process. I guess the idea is that you don't see the things.
Unless he's going to be on from the budget side too, right?
Well,
You
Right,
don't-
no, that's true.
Or
He's
you
on
don't
the
want to be
budget
on it.
committee.
That could be too. I know I can't volunteer for it.
Sure.
all right.
Only
Well,
3.
Nolan Pelletier. We need an alternate.
I can be the alternate.
And Kane will be the alternate.
Hopefully never to
I was going to take
be
that, too.
required.
I'm gonna make it the
All right.
first meeting.
Yeah, right. So I know what's going to happen.
Whatever that day is, I won't be there.
Yeah, right.
All right. Now, what we've set up also, again, for Rich's edification, we do have like 2 working committees, ad hoc committees, for zoning and then also for master plan. Right. And the idea was that, they're not voting on anything. Okay. It's, if we were doing, let's say, a zoning review, or if there were, let's say, anything through the normal process that came in through, let's say, the planning department, or whatever. And we'd want to have, let's say, these individuals sort of have eyes on it, so that it isn't something that's coming up at the end of the year, like we have, what's this? We want to be able to say that it's maybe like a housekeeping type amendment, or it's something that might be a House bill that we know that's coming down, and, we're just trying to get ahead of something. Or if we were, in this case, where we did a lot of work on sort of what I would call sort of a cleanup of the, our existing zoning. There was maybe they met, maybe a lot of the work was done, but then the product is presented to the planning board, right? The planning board discusses, planning board votes, planning board decides if they're going to move forward on it. So it's just sort of an ad hoc committee. They would have to, the noticing requirements applied. So you'd have to post it in 2 places. You would have to have it noticed 24 hours. And then minutes would have to be kept. So that's, so that's what we're doing there. So do we have anyone that, Nolan, you are on, does anyone want to be on one of those committees? Whatever.
I know master plan is a lot of, we only met once.
Yep.
We tried to meet again. I know that Tim, obviously we lost
It was
Tim.
obviously
Tim has
because we
left
lost
us. He
Tim.
was a wealth
Right.
of information. But
Right.
we have a lot of work to do on master plan. So I said I was going to do that, and I'll still stick with it, but we're definitely going to need some people to do some legwork in there too. It needs a lot of work, and it's coming up.
Yeah,
So
I'll
stay
still
on
do
this.
it, but we do need another person.
All right, so Karen, Nolan, you want to be on the master plan?
I'll jump in.
All right.
I've had the experience with master plans before.
No, that's excellent. Because I think what we're, again, trying to remember where we had it. We wanted to sort of build out the, for economic development, right? That was sort of the theme, last year. And I think we had to build out some of the, sort of the aspirational portions of it. So, let's say, Nolan.
This can kind of dovetail because it was in one of the things I was suggesting is I think one of the things the master plan group should do is actually set a schedule, because we're supposed to update this thing every 5 years,
Yep. We're way
by
behind.
statute. So to the extent that if we could create a schedule where we're saying we're going to update one section a year, we'll meet that 5-year. So we're already behind the economic
Yep.
development. We're
Right.
going to have a new one this year, maybe pick a less intensive one. The problem with economic development, there's heavy lifting on that one. For
Yeah,
sure.
there is.
And
It's a lot.
don't pick transportation because that's maybe the heaviest lifting one of the group.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's just my observation.
Well, maybe a lot of this stuff, in terms of setting objectives and stuff like that, let's say for the master plan, we do, this would have been where we hear applications, but the next time we meet, we sort of reserved it as a sort of a homework type session. So that'd probably be good, a good discussion to have. Let's say, let's take a look at what we have for a master plan. And if we want to turn around and sort of
Pick a
map out
certain-
what it
pick a
looks like
certain
over
thing.
5 years.
Yeah, would-
And then, if it makes sense for, have maybe somebody meet, in an off session for like an hour or two or whatever, we could do something like that. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe we just say that we bang it out on one of our homework nights. All right. So, but it probably makes sense to kind of look at it and say that, well, why don't we break this up over, 5 years, so we know what we're working on.
Well, the challenge on this is legwork. It requires legwork.
Right.
And, and
So-
a fair amount of legwork. So, it's just, we'll be doing this, outside of the meetings. Because it requires some research, it requires,
But we should revisit like on the economic development, it just, there were some things that would have been where we had to like fill some stuff out and just kind of add some content to it.
I think the good idea was that it should be the whole planning board should be on this and make that our thing this year. Definitely, that's the way that Tim and I were going to do it, with Nolan on there too. We were thinking of, we'd get more done if it was done as a group.
well, again,
Definitely.
personally, I have no problem, helping out with the committee. I just don't know if I can give all of the time, given other things I
Oh,
got.
yeah, no.
but if
But we
It's a
could,
whole
but we
plan-
can start looking at it and chunking
No
it out.
question.
All right, so,
So you want to almost kind of put it on the schedule for
For our workshop.
the workshop, the first one we do, so it's almost like you have that as an agenda item,
exactly.
maybe going forward for each one.
Yeah.
That might be the best way to get caught up and to get things done.
I
think
just
that's a
think the
good idea,
master
Karen.
plan should be it this year. We keep
mean,
saying that and we never get to it.
You're right, if we don't do it and we don't put it on the agenda, next thing you know, we're gonna be sitting here in October.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
There was.
We started and then,
Yep.
especially with Tim's doing a lot too, because he had the conservation committee, he had other
Right.
stuff going on. So
Right.
like that,
Mhm.
obviously that's all past
We
now.
got in touch with
So we can
everybody,
kinda-
but
We can kind of focus
what
on that.
happened
But
with it?
I like
From-
that one.
my research looking around, it seems that other towns are kind of behind the 8 ball as
That's
well.
the same thing I found out. See, that's
So
what we did. We
it's-
sent
it's,
each other out.
because that
One
was
person
kind of
at a
our
time.
homework was go out and research some other towns in the area,
Yep.
and they're almost
just
in the
as far
same
back
boat. It
as-
seems like it's just kind of kicking, I don't
I
want to
think that's more the rule than the exception, is that they're behind
Yeah.
their
A lot of
updates.
Well, what happens if you had a lot of these towns
Right.
around here too, there's been some development and things like that, so that takes precedent. It shouldn't, but it does, right?
My past life with the experience with the master plan was the whole board was on it.
What's
The
that?
whole board was on the
Thank
master
you.
plan. It wasn't, it was
I think
everybody.
that's what we figured out.
All right.
It was a
really.
lot of
Well,
work.
like I said, we'll put, then maybe we chunk it out and then have it as a standing agenda item.
On our
that We
homework.
just sort of,
More efficient.
Good idea.
all right. And again, let's say for the zoning subcommittee, again, it's not something that, these are ad hoc committees that if we wanted to have somebody do extra work, we would just sort of mobilize that way. But, maybe that's something, again, on our homework, we identify what it is that we want. I thought last year was very ambitious.
It was very good with the committee with him. Right.
It was very ambitious, and I don't know if we do a repeat of that.
Yeah.
I don't personally, I don't think you need to be nearly as ambitious. I
If I
think there's
can
a few
make
things.
Would you do a little?
From election
less?
day, if I can make one recommendation on the zoning amendments, if we could ever somehow keep it to around 5, would be beautiful.
Well,
Because you have no idea, from being there, the number of complaints, because everything was it was too long. And I think it was about 300 were left blank that they didn't even fill them in, because at that point, they just didn't want to fill them in. It's a goal for, I'm just saying it'd be a nice goal, whether you can make it or not. It's
Yeah.
another
no,
story.
I agree. But
it's eight.
I think there's a bigger picture too, in terms of how we describe them, how,
Right, how
we
long
can,
it
we can
takes.
do a better job on that area.
I
too.
think,
Cutting it down.
But I think
Well-
when they looked at it and it was like 12 pages, it was like, whoa.
That's because they were
but
very
people
long.
have done research on the size of the number of zoning amendments that we presented. And so, in terms of the number of them, it wasn't abnormal. It was perhaps maybe,
It was the length.
It was.
Presentation.
The length had a lot to do with it. You're absolutely right, Karen.
Right. It did.
but in terms of, I think though,
They
what
all
I would
passed.
like to
Could do.
suggest, in terms of, what is it called? The substance, what was it,
Topical description of
description.
substance.
now, topical description of substance, I think, some of them were, if you looked at it, it was like Z25, I'm just throwing a number out, but Z25-1, are you in favor of, and there was nothing. It was just like, there's a picture of a table of contents. So if you weren't in the process, you were just looking at like, what am I being asked to vote on?
Yeah.
But you can provide a topical description, right? And I know that the clerk's office in conjunction with the BOS are responsible for that. But I think from the planning board's perspective, I would like to, when we do zoning, that we at least also contemplate suggested language for a topical description, right? So that this is what, if we advance something as a warrant, this is the topical description language that the board suggests. And then it's passed on to the BOS and the clerk to do, incorporate into the
DRA
process.
and all that has to go through them.
And, some of this will be forced upon us too, because I don't know if you've been paying attention what's going on up at the
Yep.
legislature,
All
but
those bills.
there's
Oh
a,
my God.
there's a ton of stuff, some of it which has already passed the House,
Right, I know.
so, I mean, and a lot of it related to housing, which will
Mhm.
cause some consternation,
You have to work
So,
on that.
my thought, just from the maybe former member of the zoning committee, was that, we probably should leave ourselves a fair amount of runway
Mhm.
to decide, what we need to pick up from the state.
Right now.
Yeah. So
Agreed.
I don't know if we have necessarily any singular pressing need to address on the zoning ordinance this year. I mean,
Well, we covered so much.
well, no,
That's good.
but still, I don't see anything out there like hanging over our heads that we gotta necessarily fix. So,
I mean, there was one ordinance that didn't make it. And at least my analysis was that I think it was just sort of a casualty of people who confused.
well, that's the,
Because it was the one that didn't pass. I think there was 6.
it's
And
the
all that was
table.
is moving.
6 and 8.
Yeah, but it was
Both.
moving a table from one location to another. So that's,
It's the table that's the problem in there. It's because you,
Don't understand it.
it's just posting uses to the districts. It's not, doesn't create a use, doesn't do anything. It
so
just
I think
posts
it just, so it was a casualty in that sense.
I think we would be better off on that is simplifying that. So just having a couple of tables that have the districts and have the uses, and you could save
Just like
yourself
that.
probably 15 pages in the ordinance.
Yep.
That may be something worth we tinker around with, but beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah. So in terms of giving us more runway, I think, I mean, the last public hearing that we had, to go through everything, it was a little, I think it was very long. Okay. So in terms of public hearings,
Grateful to be traveling for business.
Yeah. it was, so definitely more runway, if we're going to start something, do it, then the public hearing should be probably managed a little better so that we're not doing the 6.5 hour.
Like everything else you learn and you get better at it.
Yeah, I mean, because there was a lot of public input. Okay, and so in some sense, you want people to speak and things like that, but then you realize that
For 6.5 hours?
it was about 6.
Oh, no, we didn't get, it was almost 7.5
Wasn't that- I was
hours.
gonna
Yeah.
say, it was
We didn't get
longer
out
than
of here
6.
till after 1.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's painful.
when you have to
I
read it,
just gotta say, don't do
Congratulations,
that
Rich.
again.
Yeah.
when you have to read
Not doing that
it.
today, right?
I may
Right.
walk
I have
out.
a flight at
Right,
5 in the
I
morning,
don't
so.
blame you.
No, so I like the 5, believe me.
It's a nice goal to shoot for.
So,
All right. So,
Maybe 6.
but I think in the next few months, the truth, so to speak, will start to reveal itself from what's happened up at the state.
That's what we have to look
well,
at.
then that's important to note, because
I
we
think
do
we should
have,
start with that.
we do have a spreadsheet, that was being curated for legislative updates and things like that. So it's,
Yep.
that's on it, that we do circulate it. And I don't, is that
unbelievable.
something Tim was maintaining, or is it
Tim,
someone else?
We got
Tim
it.
gets it
It's-
as part of something with the RPC. So I don't know if
exactly.
it's,
It was just meticulous nature.
Yes, yes.
Right.
But he
Gets
gets that, he told me he gets that as part of the RPC is sending that.
So the RPC is sort of the source of the information that
Yep.
we were getting on
You
a
can get
regular.
anything from them.
Or it may be one of the subcommittees of the RPC, so, but.
So we
but
want to
some-
we want to make sure then that
Can
that
get
sort of
touch.
continues and we're at least getting that
Tim's
legislative
been
update.
very good about sending it along. I
Very
mean, I
good.
read it every week when I get it.
I run it off.
Right, so RPC legislative update, just want to make sure that that's something that continues and that we're all going to get, seeing as that they seem to be busy up in Concord, right? So,
You
Well,
certainly do
are you
right
gonna
now.
do the RPC?
what?
Are you gonna do the RPC?
Well, it's,
Well-
Tim was
Well,
appointed,
yeah,
right?
Tim was appointed, but he has a term, I believe, a term of
Oh, I
service.
thought he was done this term.
No,
No,
he's
he's not.
He
He's
still
an
has
he's
one-
an
he still has
RPC
through
commissioner.
26.
Yeah, he's got another year, I thought, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
he's good
didn't-
through 26, I believe.
I didn't know that.
And
Okay.
and I think he wanted to stay on that,
Oh, I'm
right?
sure he doesn't want to leave it.
Yeah, he's
Sure.
right.
So
Yeah,
we should at least confirm that, I think, with them.
yeah. you
And if he
better
does, that's good.
I think when I talked to him, he said he was going to finish it out.
Make sure,
Okay.
that we encourage it too.
Because he's also on that TAC committee too.
Yep.
Right, so actually, it probably makes sense to circle back with Tim and just confirm RPC and TAC and anything else, if he's finishing his terms out with them, and how that's going to work. All right. All right, so in terms of, I mean, we talked about it generally, I think, when we're talking about planning board goals or what, I think, just to summarize in my mind, you have something, Russ?
No.
Okay, no, okay, sorry. I thought some
Just a-
movement.
just a-
Yeah. No, master plan, sort of standing agenda item. We'll chunk it out in terms of, if there's a schedule that it needs to be updated on. We'll probably have a provisional map, probably, starting next meeting, indicating what we're going to work on. Probably it'd be a good idea, like I said, do it in session with the whole planning board.
Yep.
And if for whatever reason we need something that requires, whatever, we do have availability of a subcommittee that we can sort of,
I'll still
put
do
work
that.
off to. In terms of zoning, again, ad hoc committee, but then, legislative updates are going to be a priority. We want to have to monitor those and we'll sort of adjust off that as needed. And to give us more runway or whatever, or in terms of what we're going to do for 2025,
Yep.
public hearings and such. Anyone have anything for old business or anything that they want to talk about?
Well, the Conservation Commission, is Tim still going to stay on that?
He wasn't sure.
And typically, we've had some sort of cross membership. We're allowed one
Well,
from
we're allowed to have one person from
from
another.
the planning board, right? It
Well,
would not,
we
it's
can-
not
Somebody that can be
required.
on two land use boards can be on the planning.
It's not even that. It's the Conservation Commission is under the RSAs we're only limited to one planning board member.
Right.
And
Okay.
the Conservation Commission is not a land use board. It's not considered one under.
What I'm
the
saying
RSA.
is that we don't have a seat at that.
No,
table.
no. Well,
If he's
we're
there.
not
Right.
required, we're not mandated to have a seat. The question is that something we want
We do.
linkage to?
Right.
It'd be something we've talked to the Conservation Commission about, right? That if
Well, they've hired two more now.
if Tim was not going to continue on the Conservation Commission, which I don't know, I haven't talked to him about it, then, maybe we want to have a presence on it.
Well, maybe you can just reach out
Yeah.
to Jill and see if there's an alternate or
They
something.
even
They
want,
want something,
right.
so.
I can do that.
Right now for us.
Anything else? Great.
No, in choosing, people connected to the planning board, to have some input, I don't know if that needs to come up right now, maybe toward the end of the year, but
What do you mean?
I would like to have some representation when, different positions are hired. And very important positions, so.
Well, you're talking about succession management, shall we
Yes,
say, from
yes,
the planning
no,
department.
I am, and I
Right.
think both the planning board and ZBA should have some input.
Just a question, is that, I mean, we know that, our current, planning staff is said that they're looking to retire at some point. Is there somebody in place right now that's being sort of cross-trained or
there
anything
isn't.
like that?
There isn't at the moment. I know they're looking.
Okay.
Because all the hiring, that goes to the town manager.
All right.
Right.
So what you're saying is that in
I'm
terms of,
saying in terms of being able to also listen and hear which persons and different people, what they have to say and offer, and since they're going to be pretty much involved with us, I think we have the right to at least be in there, even if we just send one person, I don't care. But I think we should be on the committee.
do we know if there's like a formal hiring committee, or is this just sort of a
Usually,
standing?
it's the town manager's in charge of
Okay.
all of that. I mean, the selectmen, we don't sit in
Okay.
on that stuff either.
The only thing that, the
You're
only
talking about a
wrinkle,
head.
Dan?
the only wrinkle is the planning board is entitled to staff. That's in our rules of procedure. It's in, and when you think of it, it's logic. How is the planning board going to do their job without some staff assistance? And I want to be careful to stay in the right lanes that
Right.
I don't think we should be interfering in the hiring. I think we should definitely though be involved if someone's going to be assigned to a planning board staff. I think we need to know who that is. We need to understand qualifications. If there's training, we need to understand, okay, what that training is. Because it's a heavy lifting job,
It is.
It is.
It's
Yep,
very
it's
big.
very heavy
It
lifting.
is.
So I mean, to me, I'm not going to sit there and say, hire X over Y, that's not a call, but I think I think my view is we should at least be heard as to, what we're thinking that position should be, And I think quite frankly,
Maybe it's a conversation then, that
Yeah,
can be
have
had
with-
with the town
have with
manager.
the town manager.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's all I meant.
And that might be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. And just one other thing. I know that there was a lot of, I don't know if it was all forwarded or not to the rest of the board, but there are a number of working documents that I think will probably be, again, probably something that we work on during our homework sessions. In terms of like rules and procedures, probably we've had a year. There are probably things that we want to update or maybe augment. I'll just throw it out there. I think I want to continue to flesh out the process and, when an application is considered complete, whether or not we accept it, and that whole dynamic. I think that needs to be spelled out with a little more granularity than it currently is. So again, the rules and procedures it'll be in a Word document. And we'll probably be, revisiting that periodically in terms of what we need to, if we need to make changes or not. One of them also, wasn't the site plan regulations?
Well, that was Tim's
Tim's
project, and I think we talked at the previous meeting of an intent to, get on that quicker.
But we're
which
waiting,
is-
we're waiting on some responses.
I think just from Steve Keach, but I got the Word document, which I did have some some suggestions that I touched briefly with Tim, but I'll put those in there and we just in red line.
Right, so,
But you know, if we're going to fix the regulations or combine the regulations,
too.
which I think is a good idea, and I think, quite frankly, what's in the combination document already, subject to Mr. Keach's input, is pretty good. But that means that means one checklist, that means one application. So it's completely streamlined. Someone just has to go to one place to do this.
all right, so, I mean, that's what, this is going to be 2 years that we started it. So I'd want to close that out relatively quickly.
I think
Um,
I think by the next meeting, we
Yeah.
can have at least something to pick on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I guess I don't have an appetite for like expanding the project. I mean, if we were looking to just have it reviewed in which, and have some comments and then sort of combine it, it'd probably be good to combine it and, consider it a win, move on. And then if, there's a subsequent edit, we'll consider it a new project of some kind.
Well, you got to read it at 2 meetings. And,
Yeah,
you
because I
know,
mean,
Right.
that's the point. We're going to have to
Yeah.
do 2 readings on it,
Anyway.
and then have a public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so. And is that per hour regulation? The 2 readings of something?
That's in the rules of
It's in the
procedure.
Rules and
yeah.
procedures?
I
It's in the rules
generally,
of procedure.
I haven't really seen that anywhere. So typically, usually, I've seen other places, they just
It'll be
do
there.
one public hearing. But
Yeah, so,
I haven't looked
so
at
2
it.
readings and a public
I
hearing.
didn't bring mine with me either, too. I had that whole piece of paper there. I was gonna do it.
I just sort of a standing question, like where does the 2 readings come from before you have a public hearing? All right. Was there anything else in that email, that email that was going to be disseminated? Site plan regulations, rules and procedures.
I mean, there's stuff that's just a recommendation that we kind of play
Right.
around.
All right.
Can I ask for one thing, though?
What do you
Since
want?
I'm occupying Laurie's seat, can we get an email address?
The town manager.
All right, let's
I
I've
have
asked
one.
for 2
let's
years.
just-
let's
so
make a
good luck with that.
formal request.
No, I think, first of all, just to make the argument for it, the planning board attorney, our in-house counsel was visibly perplexed one time when he found out that there was no email, Plastow whatever, gov email for each one of the,
I have one. Yes, we
for
do.
the planning board. Okay, but I think the argument should be, everyone should have it. It allows for, for right-to-know requests.
mean?
Right-to-know requests, you don't have any commingling of emails, let's say in personal email accounts. Normally, I mean, just from a right-to-know perspective, I mean, it would probably be good, if we don't have these things, you should have a new, fresh email address
That's
that you're going to use specifically so that you're not sort of
Right.
having to weed through your personal
Right.
emails. But I do understand the argument why we should have dedicated emails for this, and I think we can make a good argument for that. Because I think it's only $100 or so per domain, and it's, whoever's doing our IT support, that's a relatively straightforward drill to set up an email address for somebody.
Well, if you already did one just with the planning board, then does that mean I have to do another one?
Why do you have an email
Because
address
mine
for
was
the
never
planning board?
working right.
When does, so
they
who
just
who
gave
set
me-
that up for you?
Huh?
Who set that
It
up?
was set up with Dee. She has one place to get me and I have one place to return. That's it.
Okay. So we.
But is it a
so we have-
plastow.com
is it a plastow.com
email?
one?
It is plastow.com.
No, it's just a regular gmail.com.
Yeah, but
Okay,
that's not
that's
a
not- that's
Plastow.
not-
That's not a town.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So it's not a town one, but it's one that they could use, right?
No, we're talking about having a dedicated town email for each one of us.
Okay, another one. All right.
All right. I think Probably,
That's my Laurie impersonation for this evening.
all right.
We miss you,
That
Laurie.
was a standing request for her, I think, for the last 10 years. or something like that.
Since the election, you look a little different.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
probably aged in like, a week.
You should have a draft, you should have a draft, a draft in front of you. I think this is a good working document. You know, that we can, just sort of make edits on it, change, expand on it. In terms of policies, procedures, and practices and such. I think one of the things we talked about, just sort of a preview, is that maybe if we have deeds, part of the intake process, the deeds or whatever, the deeds should be reconciling to the site that they purport to speak for. All right. We had an application that was in front of us where we required sort of the deed be remedied. And then, prior to the site plan being submitted.
Well, the concern is we shouldn't be remedying
Right.
deeds. That should be,
So that should almost be considered as part of the
I-
completeness or on the checklist.
well, to me, I would put it in the site plan and subdivision regulations.
Okay.
As I was starting to draft comments, that's one I put in there.
Okay.
I think also the DRI stuff, we've got the
Yes.
checklist where we can, where we can go through and, at least start to have that process, because that's nowhere in our site plan or subdivision regulations. And that's a specific, recommendation from RPC.
Yep.
All right.
So I think I think the site plan and subdivision piece, the combination of those will go a long way towards streamlining some stuff for us. And in there would also be, the language we were playing around with last year as to what makes an application complete.
Right.
And we had board councils, one of the attorneys in their firm weigh in on that. So I can dig that out. I have that someplace.
I do too.
All right. So I guess a lot of this stuff, the takeaway is that on our workshop nights, we should probably be,
Concentrating on.
concentrating on.
Well,
this.
and just develop an agenda. The agenda could have
Right.
2 items on it, and we just knock them off and we prioritize,
Right.
I mean, the list I typed up is in no order of importance. It was just, as I was thinking of the things we probably should be thinking about,
All right. All right. Just to close the circle, let's say on the zoning amendment subcommittee, just provisionally, would you just want to name 3 people? Do you want to?
I'll be happy to stay on it. Yeah.
So, Dan will be on it. I don't mind being on it. And Bill, do you want to be on it or no? Or
I have no
I was going to say you're
I'm on so many committees
Yeah.
right now.
okay. All right.
And we.
As exciting as the zoning ordinance subcommittee sounds, I know you're just.
It is,
No,
but,
it is good. It's
yeah,
good.
because you figure we
Good.
reorg, and once we reorg, I'll be on about 5 or 6 different committees, so.
All right. So, but we'll just at least name 2, maybe one more. Rich, we'll just provisionally put you in there.
We're the new guys. We're on
Right.
everything. So
That's typically the way.
But again, if it's something that, it's an ad hoc as we need it. So, if we could just do a lot of this stuff in our workshop meetings, then, we can go from there. And just also in closing, I guess, my last thoughts are, I really would like to, kind of put some thoughts towards, actually looking at something village center wise. Even if it's something that, if there are grants out there that we could research and that we might have availability to, for purposes of, let's say, enhancing or doing something, where it's someone else's money and they want to give it to Plastow to do something village center wise. I think we should all be open to that. And to that end, even understanding, let's say, it keeps coming up, and I understand that there have been meetings that last year or the year before at the library for, let's say, traffic calming.
Yep.
That's a big thing that I think at least the planning board should at least have
At the
a
center.
conceptual understanding of where we're at, what it entails, and, you know, what the challenges are.
Yep.
I'm not saying we take it over or anything like that, but I think we should be able
We
to,
can work on
we
grants.
can say that we have a narrative, what it means and what it entails. Because I think that's another thing that, that's an RPC thing, I think, where Tim might have been involved in, and where, you know, where they're at with particular traffic calming and what would be available to us. I mean,
Right.
do we want, you know, if they're talking about traffic control devices, you know, and, you know, nice little traffic circle.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's something that, you know, is that looks nice. It's aesthetically pleasing. You see it in other little New England towns around us. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. They're, you know, they're not all like multi-million dollar type projects. Some of them you go to like a Tuscan kitchen type area. They have a
Right.
little traffic
It's just
circle there.
right.
It's visually present, but it's basically just a series of granite structures that sort of outline what it is. So that's the functional aspect of it. So,
Yep.
you know, rather than just saying that, no, that's too expensive, I don't know that that's too expensive. I haven't heard anything about how much it would cost. But I think as a planning board, we should be able to speak to that narrative, or at least know who can speak to that narrative. All right.
It'll all come down to the state too, right? It's a state-owned road.
Yeah, it's
always
fine,
a
but,
state.
but I
That's-
think,
and
but
that's
they
who we
did
pay
have, but
for
they
it.
did,
That's really what it comes down to.
but they did have
They did.
options that they provided,
Yep.
from what I
Right,
understand, to
and-
Plastow.
Right, and when they
Right.
did for that strip that came from what, the library, basically to the tracks, right? And that's what
Yes.
it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what it was. And they said, okay, if you choose this, there's only so much money.
Right.
So it's like, if we do this, then you may not be able to do this. So it's,
Was it North Ave on that too? The North
it
Ave
wasn't, not,
intersection?
not on that one, it wasn't.
No, it's a separate.
That was a separate one?
Yeah.
There's a separate, a different one.
Well, in,
Westville was that piggybacked on,
Yeah, where was that?
Westville, I think,
Westville
was
is,
sort of an ad
Westville,
hoc.
Westville is town-owned. Oh,
Yeah.
That's town-owned. So that's the town that's gonna do that. So that's, you'll see that work done in the spring.
Finally.
But again, I mean, I don't have the narrative. I know that roughly what I heard was that there was X amount of money, then it might have changed to a matching requirement. Like, you know, we have X amount, but you have to match a certain amount. And then it might have also changed to, no, there's no matching amount. And then there's, you know, a certain amount. All right. And there might have been a list of options that would have been available
There
to
are
us, like
grants available. You can do
a
that.
bunch of options that might have been presented to us that we can choose from, but ultimately the state makes the decision. But they were asking us, I think.
Yeah.
What we-
And then
what
at
we
this
wanted
point
to
too,
do.
we gotta see what's gonna be available for grants too, right? Because things are changing.
oh,
Yep.
there were
No.
federal grants available for
Exactly.
this type of stuff. Now, they were competitive, you know, but if I was to look at them now, you know, that, I bet you there, that portal, wherever it was,
It's gone.
is now closed,
Yeah.
right?
That's what I'm saying. You don't know what's,
Right.
You do,
no.
but you have to look. That's what I'm saying.
oh, absolutely. You're always
You have to
looking,
look.
always looking.
So that's what I'm saying. Thematically, I think we should kind of have that on our minds. With the idea that, you know, there could be money one day, there might not be money one day.
Right. Right.
You know, Massachusetts, like the Haverhill area, that whole Riverwalk area that they sort of revitalized, I think that's federal money that they had or whatever, you know, and as they had stuff, they
Well,
kind of
they got
made
a little
some.
more than we did.
I know, but
Massachusetts.
that's just an example. But as they had money, they kind of made, you know, some enhancements that make it relatively attractive to, at least at night, you know, going on the Riverwalk.
there is stuff coming up that's gonna indirectly impact us anyways, because Haverhill has a whole, I believe it starts in the end of 2026, 2027, they're redoing that whole portion of North Ave.
Oh,
Sidewalks all the way down there. There's gonna be a roundabout before the country club.
Right.
And then
Yep.
there's gonna, I think they're gonna
that's why
redo
it's
that,
just sitting
that
there.
little narrow bridge.
Oh.
They're gonna redo that
Nightmare.
bridge.
Well, I
Yeah.
think Giles Street or Giles Street.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
where that
That's where the
roundabout-
roundabout was
Yeah,
planned.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
The little bridge needed to be replaced 20 years ago.
yeah.
Well, if they can do it, we can do it too.
Well, you know,
I don't know if I want a sidewalk go all the way north Ave though.
so I guess that's what I'm looking at, sort of aspirationally.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say it, that economic development, I think economic development should be a full town approach. Everyone should think economic development was what we had there from what
Was from the original committee, yes.
Well, what we just heard tonight. I mean, something like that where someone's coming in and wants to talk about revitalizing something, it's attractive. I think that's great. I think, I probably would want to have the Southern New England Chamber of Commerce in here
Yes.
one more time to
Gotta-
just
we
sort
gotta
of
talk to them too.
pitch the town, you know, what they can do for the town.
You know, definitely maybe refer these folks to connecting with the Southern New Hampshire. you
Right.
know, or the Havel or whoever. I think it will do them well. And I think, you know, that's a good story, you
Yeah.
know, and we like good stories.
So.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else? So if not, we'll close this meeting at 8:47.
You know, that
Thank you.
TV has not been the right one.